Good morning and welcome
to another episode of Day 4 with Frank SCALISH and Matt Pangrad.
Episode number 241. We're recorded today because I am at the St. Jude Bass Classic in Wabasha, Minnesota.
Fishing for a cause.
We're just on it today.
Yeah, we are.
Just feeding off of each other.
It's crazy.
It is. Have to give a shout out to the Day 4 listeners. I know Frankie had his St. Jude fundraiser that raised almost $1,000 for the color 7,
Yay.
specifically labeled 1 through 10. That auction, some of those went for over $100, Frank. So
Primo.
Big shout out to the Day 4 listeners. Speaking of Day 4 listeners, before we get into the show, I need to read a message from you. I actually have a gift for you, Frank.
Uh-oh.
I have a gift for you. Andrew Lewis in early April sent me a message. And he said, I'm going to read it. I haven't read all of this. Oh, he said, hey, buddy, since you couldn't make it to the Masters tournament this year, I got you. Because I went to the Masters last year with Daryl Gleason. He said, I got you, your wife, and Uncle Frank Masters hats.
Dude.
If you could send me your address, I'll send them to you. And then you can send Frank his, just as a token of our appreciation for the job y'all do. I'm a truck driver and love listening in to BTL. And then he put in all caps and Day 4.
Outstanding.
So I got to pick which hat I liked. So this is Andrew sent me the hat. Look at that. Look at this Masters hat right here. This is a 2026 Masters hat. Now here's the problem, Frank. I love the way this hat fits and the way it works, so I want to wear it, but I'm also a little nervous of
damaging it.
You can only buy Masters hats at the Masters. Like, that's the only way. Or eBay afterwards, but it's not true.
I would not wear that hat fishing ever. No. I would wear it out and about, but I would never put that in my boat.
Yeah, so here's the problem with the out and about. I have refused to take the tag off of it so far, but I love the way that the hat fits because I don't.
Then use it, wear it for the show.
But here you go. That is your hat, the Masters, from the Masters merch tent, from Andrew Lewis, and on the side, 2026 on the inside, official Masters apparel.
Dude,
so you
sick.
have a Masters hat in Augusta green from the Masters, courtesy of Andrew Lewis, who went above and beyond and out of. They're like $35 hats, Frank.
Dude,
I said, let me Venmo, and he said, no, dude. He said, I listened to a ton of hours on it. So massive shout out, unexpected, above and beyond. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's super cool. Yeah, I can't wear that in the boat.
No,
I lose too many hats running down the lake.
No, but it's a nice, it's the hat. It's kind of the hat that you like too. It's kind of a lower profile, but it's not, you're not a big fan of the Richardson 112s. I knew that. So this is more of a Richardson 112 format, but this one's more of your style of hat. So
it fits my bald head better.
Yeah. He also sent some, I don't know. He sent a 2-pack of koozies. I might hook you up with one of them. And a keychain and a hat for court. So that was very nice of him. So
that's very kind. Thank you.
All right. Like I said, recorded show. We're currently at Wabasha. Frankie's up there too, practicing for that St. Jude Bass Classic. We just got done. This is wild. So we were on the same wavelength at the beginning of the show, Frank.
Oh, we were.
I got on. I said, I got an idea for the show. You said, I got an idea for the show. And then I said, well, it's your show, Day 4. So you give me your idea. It was the same damn idea.
Yeah, we did. We had it was a common idea between the two of us, which rarely happens when we go over show ideas. We always have a million things we could talk about. So this was great. I'm actually excited about it. Yeah. But we also have a lure to tease.
Right. So we're going to tease the show topic, then we'll tease the lure, and then we'll get back to the show topic and dive in because this could be a banger.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
The next lure net
signature drop
is the first Thursday of May.
Correct, which I think is.
Hold on a second. I got a handy dandy It's already May, June.
Yeah, I can't even fathom that. That would 7th. Be May 7th.
Yeah, but BTL Day 4 listeners get the first look at it. Your favorite shot, the full screen of Frank SCALISH.
Okay,
hit us with the preview, Frank.
Okay, so we're just gonna flash this up there because on the 7th we'll dive deep into it, but fat free number 6 in bluegill.
That's a classic pattern.
Oh, this is a totally underrated color right here.
Classic pattern.
Yeah,
Great post-spawn early summer pattern.
I mean, you could see all the purples in there, and this is bluegill.
Yeah, you probably how many different bluegill patterns over your course of existence on Earth would you say you have fashioned?
4 or 5.
They seem like a difficult pattern. It feels like there's a lot of paint steps on top. Yeah, a lot of steps to a bluegill pattern that aren't in like a shad pattern.
Yeah, the shad patterns are very simple to paint. You can get very illustrious with the shad pattern by how you're overlaying your pearls. The bluegill colors are tough because bluegills take on certain color characteristics and certain types of bodies of water, certain water clarities, and of course, what I'm not sure a lot of people realize is that bluegills will occupy water depths of 20 feet. And so it depends where you're catching them and what time of year, et cetera, et cetera. My favorite bluegill color actually is a juvenile. But the problem with the juveniles, the color I like, they're 3/4 of an inch to an inch long. They're very translucent. They're not really bluegilly color yet. They have the bars markings on them. They're really cool. I'm going to try to paint one, but I want to paint it in a smaller bait because
a juvie gill.
Yeah, juvie gill. I want to paint it in a smaller bait because they don't hold that color very long. And so that's it. I've done pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds are the funnest to paint. You're really only using 3 or 4 colors, and you could get wild with your marbling and how you do the pumpkin seeds. So they're a lot of fun to paint. But yeah, so this bait here, I've wanted this crayfish, this bluegill pattern for a long time. A very, very long time, actually, to be honest with you. And they finally are doing it.
Well, do you know what is that the bait that it's going to be in?
Yes, fat free 6.
Fat free 6. We're still on capital BTL 25 for even though we're in May of 26. But yeah, capital BTL 25, 15% off regularly priced items, lurenet.com, so you can get that signature series drop on the 7th of May.
On the 7th of May. But this is right. I mean, this is the right size, the right depth range, the right color, and I'm very excited for this one. I actually, to be honest with you, as I say a lot with some of my signature colors, I wanted this color in the lineup because I wanted to be able to purchase it over and over and over again. So now I'm going to have to make a massive purchase.
You got to be getting those for free, Frank. You're painting the color.
Yeah. There's
you got to make a call. It's time to make the call.
There's some details.
Hey, can you send me half a dozen, please?
There's some details that aren't worked out yet.
All right, I'm going to show a couple photos then, and this is what's going to lead us into today's show. The first of which is a photo of you with a hefty pre-spawn northern largemouth.
Oh yeah, that was a big fish, man.
Was this the same day as this?
No, that was actually a few days earlier. The bass with that one was the same day.
And then a few days before that, the trifecta.
Oh yeah.
A 5-pound largie, a 5-pound smallie, and an almost 3-pound crappie to kick things off in Ohio for 2026, Frank.
Yeah. The smallmouth day was the smallmouth day started out really perfectly until we ran into some motor difficulties and some encroachment problems.
Those are your 2 worst nightmares.
Yeah, they are dude. I live with that. I live with that panic attack in the back of my head, just waiting to click it out, turn it on, turn it off, man. Yeah, it was brutal. I mean, the smallmouth day started out so good, and my buddy actually, I had we were throwing Norman deep little ends, and I had two colors on, and he had other colors on, and it turned out one of the colors he had on was the color they wanted for the day, and so it took me a few stubborn bass before I changed the color. Because I had it in my head it was going to be a different color. I had chili bowl. No, I had the original fried green tomatoes, and I had a shad pattern, deep little N, and then he had I'm trying to think of the name that they called it. Mountain Dew. He had Mountain Dew on, and they wanted the Mountain Dew. And so I, after the third or fourth fish he caught, I'm like, okay, I'm not this dumb. I've been down this road before, and so I switched the colors, and we went to catching on them, and then all hell broke loose. So our day ended short. We had a short day. But we caught them, and we were in the process of really catching them.
You were able to get back in eventually, though.
Yeah. We went.
Is that the Mountain Dew color right there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very cool color.
It's basically it's a smoother version of Bandits. Oh my God.
I can't help you out here because I don't know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
A color that's similar to Mountain Dew, but not.
Bandit has a color. I can't believe I'm spacing this. I'm like a complete moron. So
no, you're not. You're a genius.
So yes, I am. So I'm going to go through the old archives.
Whoa, what is that?
That is an old catalog.
Holy cow. You just rip out the old Pradco catalog. Yeah, it's about 700 pages.
Oh yeah, dude. This is like before things, before the computer. Mm-hmm. And so I am going to find out root beer chartreuse.
Okay, there you
go. How funny is that?
Oh, so it's just a carbonated beverage.
Yeah.
Assorted carbonated beverage, root beer chartreuse and Mountain Dew. DOO.
Correct. None of which are good for you.
And then the largie. I mean, like, listen, it wasn't but a couple weeks ago that you were. What are those guys who have to sit under a sun lamp for 2 months out of the winter so they
vitamin D deficient,
so they don't go nuts? You were there, Frank, and now you're back to your normal chuckling self.
Yeah, dude. Yes. Normally, I get to fish almost through the entire winter.
Mm-hmm.
And the last 2 winters, this year we got socked in at the 5th of December.
Yeah,
we got locked in, and it just frosted.
But that looked like a pure pre-spawn slaunch.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, dude. And it's on. I mean, it's on.
Was that a moving bait or
the big one?
Yeah,
that was a speed end.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was on a Norman speed end in Chili Bowl.
And then you didn't weigh the crappie, but you said it was 16 and a half. It was a black crappie, 16 and a half inch, or maybe a hybrid
or a hybrid.
It
was a hybrid.
Dude, that's got to be pushing 3 pounds.
Oh yeah, it was humongous, dude. It took end to end on my kitchen sink.
Interesting.
Yeah. And the crappie day, I caught bass and crappie mixed. I caught them all on a Great Lakes finesse underspin.
Oh, we just talked about that when Dan was on.
Yeah, I was very surprised with that underspin, how snag resistant it is.
Yeah,
I was slow rolling it through brush piles, stumps, rocks. Every now and then it would hang up, but all I would do is shake it and it would come right out. So I was really impressed with it, and now I'm creating a crappie box, and I'm using those.
Yeah. All right. So your experience on the water and my recent experiences on the water. I'm going to show something here. This is the Bassmaster Open that I just got done fishing. These are the standings, and they pay 45. So there it is, 38th, 40, 42nd, 43rd, 45th, 46th. I was 3 ounces away from my $3,448 check. I missed it by one spot out of 195. And you had some instances where you caught some fish. And what do we call in this show? You have the title.
Micro patterns within patterns.
All right. I got to go grab a bait real quick because this has to do with it. So go ahead, launch it, and I'll be right back.
Do it. So if you guys, everybody that's fished a tournament has experienced this, where you are like, you think you're on the wrong lake. Some guys are just plastering them, and you have this feeling that you miss something. You're on the wrong lake. Like you're catching pounders and guys are weighing in 4s. And this happens a lot in tournament angling because what I have found out in my past through fishing is that when you're dialed in, you're catching them. When you're hyper dialed in, all right, when you're hyper dialed in, you're catching big ones. And what that means is that you're taking a pattern and then you're finding another pattern within that pattern. And that's what I mean with micro patterns within patterns. So I have some stories of where this was so stood out so much that I couldn't believe other people didn't figure it out. And I don't want to go into the story without Matt here, I think. So I'll bloviate for a moment, if I might. So anyway, so what happens is everybody knows in the springtime where the bass are going. They're going up to spawn. This is very common. So you start out, you work your way in till you run into the fish. Weather patterns can change things dramatically. The wind could change them. Slick flat could change them, high water could change them, and you have to pay attention to all these variables. And sometimes you can get stuck in something that happened 2 days ago or a day ago. So now that Matt is here, I have a story, but do you want to do your thing first?
No, it's called Day 4 with Frank SCALISH.
Okay. So this is a story about this is an absolute micro pattern within a pattern. So I was still fishing Bassmasters at the time, and when I fished Bassmasters, I stopped fishing local tournaments. Okay, one, I didn't have the time to commit to it, and two, my focus was on Bassmasters. So I get a call from a very good buddy of mine, and he calls me up. He goes, he called me Hank. He never called me by my first name. So he called me Hank.
And wait. How did that come about?
I have no idea.
Frank, Hank, Frank, yeah, just the similarity?
I have no idea.
Okay.
So my buddy Bobby, unfortunately, he's since passed away, but so he calls me up and he goes, "Hey, Hank, I need your help. You have to practice with me for this tournament." And I'm like, "Okay, when is it? Blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Okay, I'll be home then." I said, "I'll do it with you, but I can't spend 15 hours on the lake, dude. We got to make short work of the lake." The lake is a very predominant flipping lake. The tournament was in the springtime. So it's got miles of flooded willows. Like it's just a flooded willow factory. Okay. So he goes, "We got to go to the willows." I said, "All right, it's your practice day. Let's go to the willows. Let's start in on the lead in points, fish those ones first, and we'll work our way up into the backs and we'll see what we see." So we pull up to the first point of willows. Now I got a 1/4 ounce spinnerbait. I have a jig, and I have a June bug zoom speed craw on. So I'm like, "Okay, let's go." Oh, and I have a lizard. So I'm like, "Okay, let's go." So we pull up to the first one. I pitch into the bush. Boom, I got one. It's like 1.5 pounds. He pitches into another bush. Boom, he gets one. It's like 1.5 pounds. He goes, I knew they'd be in the bushes. I said, yeah, let's just keep looking because you ain't winning this tournament on this lake with these fish. So we're meandering our way in. We go into the back of the pockets. The same thing. We're catching pound to 1.75 pounds, pound to 1.75 pounds. I said, we better look on the main lake. We go to the main lake. Main lake, same thing. So I flip my lizard in. Boom, I get one. I smack it. It's like a 4.5 pounder. And he's like, dude, all I got to do is do this the whole time. And look at, they're in the willows. And I looked at him. I said, Bobby, that fish came off of a hardwood that was surrounded by the willows. It came off of a hardwood. I said, I got
white oak or something.
Yeah, I said, I got an idea. I said, let's just run down this bank and look for all the hardwood and not flip into these willows. He goes, dude, you're crazy. We're catching them out of every other bush. I go, they're not big enough. We just caught a 4-pounder off of a hardwood. So I go down the bank, and every hardwood I came to, we caught a giant, like for where we live, a giant, like, 3.75 to 5 pounders. And I said, we're done practicing. He goes, we've only been out here for 2 hours. I said, we're going around this entire stinking lake, and you're putting every single hardwood in your GPS. And in the tournament, you're going to do nothing but go flip these hardwoods. If you flip a bush, I'm going to break your rods and sink your boat. You are going to win this thing, hands down. So he told me I'm absolutely out of my mind. So I said, we're coming back in, and I said, you think I'm nuts, right? He goes, yeah. I go over there to that hardwood. So he goes over there. I go flip in it. He catches a 4-pounder. I said, that was a random piece of wood, dude, but it was the right kind of wood. That was the micro pattern within the pattern. So I said, I'm coming to your weigh-in because you're going to win it flat out, hands down. You're winning this. So I ran to the weigh-in. He blew it out. He absolutely blew it out. He had like 19 pounds and change. And so that is a primo example of a.
And to just get rudimentary, hardwood is like a tree with branches on it that's flooded, and a bush is, even though it has wood on it, is a bush.
Well, the willow bushes are a soft wood. They're very bushy. They have trunks on them. Hardwoods are like maples, oaks.
Okay.
It could have been. It didn't matter. It didn't matter if it had branches or not. Mm-hmm. It had to be a hardwood, and it had to be horizontal. Those were the two key conditions.
Okay. And you think that's because there's a different bottom composition around the areas that had hardwoods, or what do you think?
I think they just preferred it at the time.
Okay. One of those things where you don't ask questions, but you find a pattern within the pattern and you run with it.
Yeah, because, dude, all the willow bushes themselves, there was so many bass in the willows that you could have stayed busy the whole day catching fish.
It's like grass.
Yeah, but there were no big ones in it.
Gotcha.
And so every big bass that I caught practicing with him came off of a hardwood. That's when I cut practice. I said, we're not practicing. We're going to mark every hardwood in this lake. And that's what we did.
And that's what he shot.
Yeah, that's what he did. He ran from hardwood to hardwood the whole tournament. And he beat the brakes off of them, which was so cool.
That's a great example.
Yeah, it was so super cool.
My example would be the Bassmaster Open, which
is very cool.
Which is the exact same thing, except has nothing to do with wood. So I got on a spinnerbait bite, but I was primarily, and there's a shad spawn. We won't get into the first day. We'll get into how I caught him. I ended up with 28.9. It's 14 and a quarter a day. It was just, we'll do a whole show on recovering from a mega spin out. Because both Frankie and I experienced one in this tournament. Unfortunately, Frankie experienced his on day 2. I experienced mine on day 1, which led me into a better day 2. I saw him on the water too on Thursday in 4-footers. He had like 4 for 14. He was freaking doing it. He knew what he was doing, but he had one that. Anyway, this is totally off topic. He went to boat flip like a 2.5, and it came off in midair, bounced outside the boat. He would have been like in the top 15 after day 1.
And here in normal circumstances, you'd both flip them all day.
Yeah, no, he did. It was just, and he only had 5 keeper bites.
Oh.
So he had 4 big ones, and was all around the good stuff. But I got on a spinnerbait bite on rock, and I knew it was shad related, and it was very key rock, and I could run from spot to spot to spot and get bit. It's how the tournament was won. That's kind of where it leads to. But I was throwing a 3/4 ounce double willow with a 3/8 trailer on it because it was muddy water. And I was also mixing in a 3/4 ounce covert Jason Christie, I think number 6 Colorado, big thumper with the orange kicker. And I was just paralleling the rocks 3 to 4 foot out, just bouncing it off the bottom. And I caught him pretty good. But the tournament was won with 68 pounds,
man,
in the same areas I was fishing on a spinnerbait. But it was the micro pattern within the pattern that allowed Wyatt, who won, to catch, 23 a day, 22 a day?
Yeah.
22 a day.
Behind people.
This is wild, Frank. So I was going to get him on BTL, and it turns out he was hanging out in Grove for the night. And when I asked if he'd be on BTL, he goes, "Hey, you're from Oklahoma." He listens to BTL on day 4. 29-year-old kid, super nice. He said, "Is there a tournament tomorrow? I'd love to jump in." Well, he just won 40 grand. He's feeling good. I said, "Yeah, there's an ABA tomorrow." He goes, "Do you want to fish it with me?" I'm at home. It's 10 o'clock at night on Saturday night. He had won that day. And I get up at 1:30 in the morning, grab a couple rods, get my stuff together, and drive up to Grand and fish with the guy who just beat me by 45 places on the same water, that 80% of the same water that I was fishing in the same part of the lake on the same bait. So guess what I get to learn? Micro patterns.
Micro pattern, yeah.
Micro patterns. So what ended up happening was the shad were spawning, and when it was windy, you could get bit kind of paralleling the bank. And I'll have a whole video that comes out on BTL on this. But Wyatt was throwing a 1/2 ounce Colorado spinner bait with a smaller trailer on it and was focusing even shallower than I was. So what ended up happening was the micro pattern was the fish were literally in the rocks, and I was fishing on the edge of the rocks. So my bait was below the fish at 3/4 ounce with a double willow, hitting their tails. They were 3 feet in front of me on the same spots. We fished one point that I caught the majority of my fish off of, and I never caught one over 3 pounds off of it. He caught 2 5s and a 4 off of it.
Holy crap.
And in the tournament, I didn't even notice what he was targeting. He never made the cast that I was making. He was making very precise casts to where the fish were positioned to ambush shad, and I was making parallel casts, just catching residual resident fish that wanted to be up where the big ones were, but weren't. So the key difference was he was throwing a different spinnerbait. I fished with him yesterday and caught all mine on the 1/2 ounce covert with the big Colorado single, because he was able to keep it up shallower, get it in the rocks, and make a couple turns with it and keep that bait up to where those fish could ambush it towards the shore.
That's so money.
It's the difference between 14 a day and 22 a day.
Yeah, that's what micro patterns do. It's nuts. And you know what? It happens everywhere. That had to be like a massive learning day for you.
It was a massive learning day. So this is the 1/2 ounce.
As you rip it through the rod.
This is the 1/2 ounce covert. And if you look at And this was just from the one day. This wasn't from the open. This was fishing with him. If you look at the back of this, and these things are rock solid, look how it is just beat to crap.
That's because it was where it had to go.
That's because I wasn't fishing it any deeper than a foot. And those fish would come from the 2-foot range and eat it in 6 inches, whereas I was fishing in the 2-foot range, and they're not going to spin around and eat it in the open water because they're ambush predators, and the energy that it takes to turn around and chase something in open water is much less than the energy it takes to sit there and pin it up against the rocks.
Exactly. That's exactly
it makes so
right.
much sense afterwards. It was a eureka moment that I had. So that led me to want to ask you how you know if you're on the juice or if there's juice within the juice, because that's the toughest thing, because I was sold on that because I was getting bit. I caught some big ones in practice. I had 1 over 6 each day of practice.
But what was the weather like?
It wasn't nearly as windy as it was day 1, but then it kind of slicked off on day 2, and that's where he caught him, and most of the guys kind of struggled. Like I said, I didn't catch all those until the last hour and a half of day 2 on the first day, or else I would have had a big bag. I believe so. I did some dumb stuff. I went and checked on willows that had a lot of fish on them that were in 6 inches of water when I got to them, but that's a different story for a different time. But here's my question. You're out fishing, you're fun fishing, you're fishing for a tournament, you're pre-practicing or whatever. How do you know if you have found the most productive pattern and that you just kind of lay off it and that's what it is? Or how do you know that you found the best pattern within that pattern? Because when you start catching fish like your buddy did, what you have a tendency to do is say, okay, I'm catching them doing this, but how do you know that there's not something better that's within that? What are your steps that you take to make sure that you're maximizing the bite that you found?
Okay, so the first thing is you have to understand what kind of quality that lake can give you. Because if it's a lake that is traditionally won with 12 pounds, if you're on that 12-pound category, you're in the mix. But if it's a lake that's typically won with 20 to 24 pounds and you're catching 12, you're not on the same ball field. And so that's when I start thinking. The other thing I do is the minute I catch a big one, I analyze every single aspect of how, where, when, and why I got that bite. Because the big ones don't do the same things the smaller fish do. And that to me is the most critical. That's the most critical piece of the puzzle. Is when you get that big one, you have to remember everything about that bite, because that will tell you what you need to know.
That makes so much sense, Frank, because the 4.5 that I caught on day 1 and the 6 that I caught in practice ate the spinnerbait before the blades even started turning.
Yep.
Which told me that they were on the bank. But I continued to make parallel casts just off of the bank. And if I had been paying attention to the micro pattern, I would have said that fish was on the bank. I need to make sure that my bait is hitting the bank and isn't off the bank, because I was catching 2.5s off of the bank and all my big fish came on the bank.
That's exactly right. Here's the problem. Okay. We're human beings and we love this sport and we love to fish. The minute you catch a fish, you start to get amped up. And you're excited. Okay, I got a 2-pounder. Man, we're good. We're on. We're good. I catch another 2-pounder. Man, we're good. We're on. I'm catching them. This is what I need to be doing. I catch a 4-pounder. Oh, yeah, perfect. They're here. But you didn't go, why did I just catch a 4-pounder when all the other ones were 2? And I learned that on grass lakes. That's where I learned that. Because there's grass lakes where you can go out and catch 2 to 3 pounders till your arms hurt. And then guys will come in with 25 pounds.
Big on spotted bass lakes too. Their Bassmaster Opens headed to Norman. Norman is a prime example of that too. You can go beat your brains into 9.5 pounds of spotted bass on Lake Norman, but there's a micro pattern that catches 2 to 3 pounders.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's when I learned that the minute I get a big one, I analyze every single possible scenario, why that fish bit, where it was, what cast did I make, everything. And then I try to duplicate it because big ones behave differently.
So the work starts after you catch the big one,
Yes.
not before.
Correct.
The big one gives you
the
clue, and then it is your job to go to work and put all the pieces of that puzzle together.
Yes. So I did this with, I never threw a swim jig in my life. This is a long time ago. I had never thrown a swim jig in my life. I was fishing Bassmasters. Pradco sponsored me. I went down to Arkansas for a photo shoot. They teamed me up with a guy who's known to catch big fish. And we were supposed to go out and do this photo shoot. And they had come out with a swim jig back then. That's not the swim jig of today. The swim jig of today is actually way better.
The Mobster.
Yeah, the Mobster is way better. But so I hook up with this guy and I'm like, Mitch, we'll just launch your boat. I'll grab one rod and a handful of swim jigs, and we'll just take your boat around. I'll leave my boat in the parking lot. He's like, okay, that's cool. So we launch his boat, and I'm literally sitting on his cowling of his motor. I'm leaning on the cowling of his motor. And he goes, dude, aren't you going to fish? I go, I'm watching what you're doing. I never fished one of these things before, so I'm going to watch you for a minute or two. So he's ripping down the bank and he's casting this thing out there and he's shaking it in.
The Alabama shake.
Yeah, you could see it under the water, and I see the boil whoosh, and he catches like a 2-pounder. And I'm like, yeah, that looks cool. He throws out there again, whoosh, 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 whoosh. He catches another one, and we go down this stretch of bank, and he caught like 10 or 12, and I hadn't even made a cast yet. And he's like, dude, aren't you going to fish? You gotta fish. And I go, yeah, I'm going to get with it. I'm just waiting. I said, I'm just waiting till you get up a little bit farther. And so gets up where the lake starts to make some hooks and crooks in it. And he fires his swim jig out there, and he's doing the thing, in the shallow water. And you could see the thing under the surface, 6-7 inches under the surface. You could see that thing. And I'm watching it, and he gets out of the green grass, and there's these clumps of dead gator grass floating around out there. So he goes to reel it in to make another cast, and he reels it in.
Burns it in.
I swear to God, I saw one of the dead grass clumps move. I'm like, what? So I threw my swim jig out there, and I'm pumping it up to the dead grass. I hop it over the dead grass, and I kill it. And all of a sudden, my line tightens up, and I lean on this thing, and I got like a 7-pounder. I'm like, what? And so I reel it in, and we take some pictures of it. And he goes, put it in the live well, because they're going to come down to do a photo shoot for the catalog. So I said, okay, I put it in the live well. We're going down the bank, and he's targeting all the green grass, and he's catching all these fish. And every dead clump of gator grass I came to, I'd throw my thing out there and shake it over and kill it when I got it over the other side. I had one of the biggest largemouth limits of my life, and lost one about 11 pounds trying to grab him by the face at the side of the boat. It was unbelievable. And he looks at me, he goes, how come I can't catch a big fish? I go, because the big ones ain't in the green stuff. They're in the dead grass on the outside edge. That was the micro pattern. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was the micro pattern.
So that led me down a wormhole, Frank. We've been talking about the pattern, the areas, noticing your depth, how far you are, hardwoods, dead gator grass, and all that. But one of the things that I often go through is we all have our favorite baits, what we start out with. Mm-hmm. Like I catch them on a drop shot a lot because I start out with a drop shot, and that's what I catch them on. I stuck with the double willow because my favorite spinnerbait is a 3/4 ounce double willow, gold, silver leaf, 3.8 inch trailer on the back. That's what I like to catch them on.
Right.
But the next micro pattern within the pattern is determining, are you using the best bait in the given situation versus just the one that you happen to be throwing. Like if you catch a fish on a crankbait, are you now dialed into the crankbait pattern, or would those fish eat a chatterbait better or a spinnerbait better or something on that? Prime example, and this is why I went and got this bait. The shad that were spawning, there were two different sizes of shad. Early in the morning, there were 4 or 5 inchers, bigger shad. I'm gonna ruin everything. As it progressed, you could see the shad that were up in the rocks, and they were 2 to 3 inch shad. So during the tournament, and I kept this on intentionally. This was the trailer that I was using also. And this is what I noticed when I fished with Wyatt. You can see that is a 3.8 inch swim bait on the back. That is a bigger swim bait on the back.
Yes.
Wyatt was throwing a 3-inch grub on the back of his. It was a much smaller profile bait. I thought muddier water. I want something big that stands out and that thumps. However, his bait matched the exact size of the shad that were up in the rocks, which were small 2.5 to 3 inch thread fins. And it occurred to me, maybe this was too big and bulky of a bait because it's not what they were keying on. It also made me think, I talked to another angler who caught all his fish on the bank, and he had almost 17 pounds on day 2, casting a popper into the very, very shallow water, which never occurred to me on that. The spinner bait, sometimes they would flush it and you'd miss them.
Mm-hmm.
It occurred to me, maybe those same fish that you're catching on a spinner bait would be better caught casting in the same areas on a popper that you could put up there and bloop, bloop, and those fish would eat it, because 80% of the fish that you'd have on the spinner bait, you'd watch them swirl on it. You'd fish it a foot under the surface. That's why we went to Colorado, the half ounce, it kept it up. That's a micro adjustment within the lure that drastically affected the catch rate. I think sometimes we get stuck with what we catch the first one on instead of analyzing what is the micro pattern within this, and is there a better offering that would maximize the fish catching instead of just what we just caught it on and said, oh, they're on a drop shot. Oh, they're on a spinner bait. Oh, they're on a crankbait.
Yeah. So what I have a tendency to do is, if I know the depth range I'm fishing, then I rig rods up for all kinds of different scenarios within that depth range.
Okay.
Because I will pick up and alternate, because you don't really know until you know, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I'm trying to think of an example. I was out on this lake last spring, and conditions were terrible. It was high muddy water, colder than crap, and blowing like a hurricane. And so I had gone out there with the preconceived notion that I was going to run red crankbaits in the 4 to 12 foot range on 45-degree banks. That was my thought in here. When I got there, the wind was so bad, and I decided that I was just going to fish where I was at, just to get a feel for what was going on before I ventured out. I picked up a fat boy, and I pitched it up on the bank, and I caught a 3-pounder on the fat boy. And I'm like, what? They're plastered to the bank. This is too early for this. And so I had gone down a ways farther, and I had a 1/4 ounce spinnerbait that I make. And I throw that up there, and I pop it over a limb, and I got another one. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I'm like, okay, replan. So I got down in the bottom of the boat, and I took everything out from 0 feet water to 3 feet of water. I had 2 chatterbaits, the spinnerbait, the fat boy. And I said, I'm doing this. So I run across the lake into this small pocket, and the lead-in point on the pocket, the wind was ripping on it. I went there and beat the brakes off of them. So I ran to the next pocket, couldn't catch them. Next pocket was protected, it was sheltered. I couldn't catch them. I wound up going to the main lake. I'm like, they got to be in the main lake. I went on the main lake and ripped their faces off. And all I caught them on, I wound up going to just the chatterbait because I wasn't getting the frequent bites on the fat boy, and I wasn't catching as big a fish on the spinnerbait. And as soon as I went to the chatterbait, I started knocking the brakes off of them. But here's the thing. I wasn't casting it out and just reeling it in. I was dragging it on the bottom. I was slow rolling it. And that was the whole key to the day, was that.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, I wish I had put a jig on that I could have pitched up there and checked around a little. I wish I had tried the popper. I wish I had tried some different spinner baits. I had 4 of the same spinner baits on the front deck the whole time.
Yeah, see, I would have altered my size and my weight on them.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm pitching a spinner bait, I have a tendency to go to the quarter because I'll pitch it like a jig, and it'll let it just, you know, how you don't even make a ripple when it hits the water, and that's a trick that I like to do, and I'm throwing it on a 7.5 foot rod, and just pitching it.
But I mean, you take the 100 or 240 day 4s that we've done and combine it to find the patterns. Like, I mean, if you're just trying to find fish, you're not worried about the micro pattern. No. It's once you found the fish, once you're getting bit, the lake that you're on, what it is, that's the micro pattern. And that's the difference between a really good day on the water and an epic day on the water.
Yeah, we fished a tournament, a buddy of mine and I fished an ABA team tournament, and you know how you said you picked up the drop shot because that's what you start out with. So it was a summertime pattern, so I picked up the Carolina rig because that's what I start with, and we started catching them right off the rip. But we had 1 3/4 pounds, 2 pound, 5 ounce fish right in that range, and we were pretty much catching them most of the day. We had very few dry spells, and we had probably 15 minutes to go we had to go to the weigh-in, and I said, let's go to that river channel ledge that's closer to weigh-in so we could fish longer. So we ran over there, and I had cast my Carolina rig out, and on the corner of this ledge there's 3 giant stumps, and I cast the Carolina rig out there, and I'm fishing it. Boom, I got one. It comes off, and I'm like, oh man. So I'm burning it back to the boat as fast as I can to make another cast. And I'm ripping it in there, and I see like a 3.5 pounder right behind it trying to eat it. I killed it. It went down on it, and I freaking missed it. Okay. So I throw the rod in the bottom of my boat. I grab a fat-free 7 out, and I fire the fat-free 7 out there and called every single fish we had.
Because I wanted something moving fast to
and we
chase
won it.
down.
Yeah, and we won it. And we upgraded every single fish, and in 10 minutes we won the tournament.
When you say that's one of the most satisfying parts of this whole bass fishing game, Frank, is dialing in a pattern to where you're confident that you're catching. It may not be the best and the biggest fish on the lake, but for what you're doing, you are maximizing your bite. You know you have the right area, the right target, the right pattern, the right lure, everything to where you're fishing with confidence to where there isn't a question in your mind that you're not catching. I knew that I was not maximizing my bite, but I did not make the micro adjustments because I was around guys who were catching 20-pound bags, but I was not catching the 20-pound bags. But I did not make the micro adjustments. And it's not always like that. Sometimes it's just not available. When that is literally the difference between a good day and one of the best days you've ever had.
Do you think you didn't make the adjustments because you didn't dial in on the big ones you caught?
I think I didn't make the adjustments because I was catching enough fish and I knew what the weights were and what it was, and I'm trying to make the EQs, and I knew that if I kept doing what I was doing, I would come across enough fish
to make the points work.
To make the points and have a very good tournament. And if I started experimenting more, I didn't know what would happen.
Yeah.
And I was so one-track mind dialed in that I was missing the obvious. I wasn't listening to the clues that they were giving me.
Yeah.
And I
That,
didn't in practice. So when I should have started the work in practice to notice,
right.
the fish was on the bank, the fish was in 6 inches of water, it boiled on that. That was when I should have gone to work instead of going, cool, this is the bite.
Right. And that's what, because here in practice, you don't have anything to lose by making a change.
Yep.
You just don't.
That was when I made my mistake.
But Matt, I have to confess. I mean, I have to confess. I fished an awful lot of tournaments in my lifetime. And sometimes you're just caught in the moment of catching fish,
Yes.
and you're not paying attention.
Yes. That happens with live scope more over the last
Yes.
4 years than has ever happened, because I don't think it's controversial to say that you catch more fish when you're adept at live scope. And the problem is very easy to overlook the micro patterns because you're having success. But the guys who are at the top with it, they're still doing the same thing that we're doing with the spinnerbait in 6 inches of water, where you didn't even have to have a depth finder on. They're just doing it in open water or other areas that they're finding the micro patterns within it.
Right. It's crazy. Like, it's the coolest thing on earth as an angler to be on the water doing the right thing and getting rewarded for it. And you feel accomplished. You feel good. You're not making bad decisions. Everything you do goes your way.
Yeah.
Those are great days. Sunday, I went out crappie fishing. I got caught in the trap of chasing open water fish, lakes filthy, muddy. I know the water temperature, these fish are going to be on the bank. I pulled out to a spot that I normally catch them on, and I caught some right away. So I'm like, okay, cool. And I know it's crappie, but the bass game is right. Just hang with me. And I'm like, cool. Okay. So all I got to do now is find the right floaters, and I can catch the crappie that I want. I'm not meat hunting. I'm just going to bring a half a dozen fish home. And so I don't want a half a dozen,
8 inchers.
Yeah. I don't want to bring home 30, 8 to 10 inchers. I just want a half dozen 12 to 14 inchers. Yeah. That's all I want.
Because we all know genetics taste better.
Yeah. So, right. So anyhow, I get caught out there, and I'm chasing fish, and I'm losing my marbles because I'm catching one every now and then. And I'm throwing at it, and they might not have even been crappie. I'm throwing at hundreds of fish, not schooled up, but individuals. And every now and then I'll get one that'll run it and won't take it, whatever. So I do this for the better part of the day. I look down at my graph and I'm like, holy crap, the water temperature is 63 degrees. These fish ain't out here. So I skate to the docks and I start scoping the ends of the docks. I don't see a fish suspending on these docks. I'm like, what in the hell? And I said, I should have went bass fishing today. They're on the bank. I could have beat the brakes off of them. I run into a kayak angler, and he's like, hey, Frank, what's going on, dude? Hey.
Big fan of the show.
I said, hey, how you doing, bro? He goes, I'm killing them, man. The bass are on fire. He goes, man. And he goes, I was out here the other day in the rainstorm. He goes, I caught some gigantic crappie on a chatterbait.
Light bulb.
Yeah. And I'm like, I go, all right, dude. I said, I'm going to head out here. I'm just crappie fishing today. And I go, I go to a place that has a beautiful flat on it, and it's right up against this vertical retaining wall, and I throw my sneaky underspin up against the retaining wall, and I hit the wall, and it sinks down, and it goes thunk, and I lean in on it, and I go, oh, yeah, that's a big bass right there, man. And I'm fighting it in, and it's almost a 3-pound crappie, and I'm like, there's no way it's this easy. I went down 30 yards of that thing, caught a bunch of crappie, a shit pile of bass, and I went home with a half a dozen crappie like I wanted to. And it only took me all day. Took me all day to figure out, and I knew better. And so I got home. My wife's like, how'd it go? I said, I caught probably 30 or so. She goes, oh, you had a good day? I go, no. I said, I'm really annoyed because I did not fish good today. at all. And that's the other side of the coin we just flipped. You know what I
that's
mean?
the cool. This is kind of a high level show. That's the cool thing about fishing, though, is you launch your boat and there's no one. Like, let's get philosophical, Frank.
Do it. I'm with you, man.
Like in life, there's always people telling you what you can and can't do.
Yeah.
You launch your boat, you're on a lake. Now, with legally within reason, there's no one out there telling you what you can or can't do. If you want to throw a 3-foot swim bait in straight mud, you can. If you want to run to the dam, you can. If you want to run up a river, you can. You can fish anything, anywhere you want, and do whatever you want. And that's the cool part of it, is stacking your decisions on top of each other.
Yeah.
To get to the point to have success. I mean, it goes back to our hunter instincts.
Yeah, I think this is when we talk about when LiveScope came out, everybody, said, oh, the guys, they don't have their basic knowledge down. How to find them, where to go, and all this stuff. And what did we call that? Our conventional wisdom. We call it conventional wisdom. So here's what happens. Okay. And I experienced this, and I'm a believer. The more you fish, the more decision making you make on the water, the faster it comes to you. The more success you have, the better decisions you're making. It becomes like turning the turn signal on in your vehicle. Eventually, you don't think you have to turn the turn signal on. When you're 16, you got to go, oh, I got to put my turn signal on. And you got to think and think and think about it. By the time you're 21, you don't even think about it. You know the turn's coming up. You hit your turn signal and you make the turn. This is how your decision-making process goes when you're fishing. All right? If you don't get to fish enough, if you fish once a month, for example, it might take you 2 years of fishing to get 1 year of decision-making down, the correct decision-making down. And so this is what I think happens with the advent of LiveScope. It took a lot of your conventional wisdom from what we were just talking about this entire show, making those little micro patterns, finding those micro patterns. It takes that out of the equation, because when you're scoping, you have a handful of baits. And your decision-making process becomes on what weight, what size, paddle tail, straight tail. Do they want to be near structure? Do they want to be over creek channel beds? What section of the lake are they in? These are all very important decisions. And for LiveScope, these are where your micro patterns are going to fall into play. But it takes us away from bait choices that we have conventionally fishing against the bank. It takes you away from that. So you have longer adjustment.
Just a totally different set of micro adjustments.
Yes. It takes you away from those adjustments that back in the day we would have made with a blink of an eye.
It shows you, if you put a 4-inch minnow in front of a fish, we'll just go very rudimentary, and it follows it and it doesn't eat it. You do that in front of 10 fish that are quality fish, and then you switch to a 7-inch minnow and they eat it. You're around fish and you're able to see how they react to it.
Correct.
Same micro adjustment.
Correct. Or
it's
like
different as if you don't know if you could make the right adjustment, but if you're not around the fish and you don't know if you're around the fish or not, you don't know what adjustments to make. It makes it easier to identify the adjustments that are necessary, but there is still the skill there of having to identify and make those adjustments.
Right. And my only point being was your LiveScope skills are not the same skills you have conventionally fishing bank related stuff. Because there's way more variables involved lure wise. There's way more places the fish may not be. Well, no, that's not true. There's a million places they can't be scoping.
And then when you get it all dialed in, that is the face of a man who has made the correct micro adjustments.
I just look at the hair and I want to go like that and get it back on.
You go from this to this.
Oh, for crying out loud. I am going to beat Troy's ever-loving ass when I see him.
Ooh, I got a bite. dialed in.
You know what's funny? Stop. Don't take the picture down. Put that. What are those two patches?
Is one of Riverside Lures?
Nope. But you won't believe it.
Is it a Mr. Twister?
It's a Hopkins spoon. The bottom
you
one
a
is
Hopkins spoon.
The bottom one is Hopkins spoon, and the top one is True Turn hooks.
Oh, there's the hook. I should have seen that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you were killing bass every hook set back in the day.
But never losing them.
Never losing them. That's like the old school Harold Hampton from the Assumption Bass Club. He would weigh in 5 fish, 3 to 4 of them would be dead every tournament. There'd be 6 inches of freaking line sticking out of all of their mouths. There'd be a True Turn so far down the gut of those suckers.
Yeah, 100%, man. But here, you know how funny that is? I made the mention of the spoon on purpose. That's how long I've been offshore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you talk about that like the spoon. Is it gold? Is it silver? Is it painted white? Do you have a feather treble on it? Is it a 1/2 ounce? Is it a 3/4 ounce? Like all micro adjustment stuff.
Oh yeah. No, I don't. I'm not a fan of feathered trebles, although I do put them on at times because it makes a difference if it's fluttering and falling sometimes. Yeah, I've painted I painted spoons for myself, but I just painted a pile of them for War Eagle, and they're money.
And if you make the right micro adjustments, you end up in magazines.
Yeah. Where's the icebergs in that picture?
This is the last time I made good micro adjustments. I did not know how to button my shirt properly. As you can see, I am misbuttoned.
Oh, you are so.
Look at how high the collar is on this side. On the right, how low it is on the left.
That's because you were in. That's because
I was too busy micro adjusting, baby.
You were in such a hurry to get out there, dude. That is fabulous. That's a great picture, dude.
Oh my god.
That is so funny.
All right. I enjoyed the hell out of today's show. Frank.
That was a good show today. I liked it.
It was a good show. All right. Don't forget that drop is on the 7th. If you need help on micro adjusting, you are doing, I know for a fact, because I had a listener that messaged me and said, holy crap, I wish I had done this 3 years ago. You are doing locker room sessions with Frank SCALISH.
Yeah, it's you could email me at frank.scalish03 at gmail.com.
Frank.scalish03@gmail.com.
Yeah, you could email me there if you have to. But
and Frank will help you kind of, if you have a tournament coming up, if you have a lake that you suck at, if you lake that's good at, but you're catching 12 and a lot of guys are catching 20, you can sit here and Frank will knock it out for you.
And no waypoint kidding.
Yeah, no waypoints. It's strictly, hey, here's the situation, here's the lake. You kind of walk them through it, and kind of what we do on day 4, specifically for
individuals.
Individuals have coming up.
Oh, that's fun, man. I like this show a lot, actually.
It was a good show. You got a limited edition.
Yeah, I have to hang that hat up.
Yeah, that's a hanger. That's a hanger hat because it's got the 2026 on the side. Rory went back to back on it, so thank you.
Yeah, that hat will be somewhere behind me.
You could hang it on one of the
antlers. I could, or drape it over one of my trophies.
You could too. Frankie was saying, you gotta try to add another trophy or two in the next year or two, Frank.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he's saying that.
Look at that. You literally have the itch.
Yeah, I do. I do. But my decision making after Sunday was slow.
But you made it. That's the key.
Yeah, I made it. But
I made enough adjustments to get there in the points. All right, this has been another edition of Day 4 with the man Frank SCALISH. We'll talk to everybody next week. See ya.